In this town, no matter how hard you try, they'll still end up editing you out the reunion. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I am Raphael and I'm here to review the third and final part of the reunion to the Real Housewives who were told to shut up many times of New Jersey. We start the last part of the reunion right where we left off with Andy telling everyone to shut the hell up because everybody just kept yelling at each other and they're making him late for his dinner appointment. And he goes back to Jennifer and he's like, so Jennifer, let's talk about this affair. Can you elaborate how you caught Bill exactly? So Jennifer, she goes on to say that, everything was going fine with Bill, but all of a sudden out of the blue, Bill decided to go where? To Florida. And I'm like, what is going on in Florida? That makes everybody want to cheat. First we have Ralph in Atlanta and then we have Todd all of a sudden going on trips to Florida as well. What is going on here? I mean, at this point, you know what? Let me find something in Florida because this shit is ridiculous. I want to go too. I want to join the fun. All right, so there's a flight leaving for tomorrow for $400 for 3 days. Is that a good deal? Because I'll go, and if you see me, mind your business. I just need to know what the hype is about because this is ridiculous. But okay, so Bill, he goes to Miami. So then Jennifer, she was like Inspector Gadget because she found out that she was like his hotel and everything. She had her brother call the hotel and say, Bill's wife is going to come to the hotel. So can you just leave an extra key? So Jennifer, she showed up to the hotel. She walked in and he was there. This is where she kind of lost me because she was like, oh yeah, he got all hot and bothered and he got turned on. At least that's what I'm assuming that she meant. I'm like, what? Like, so Bill got turned on from being exposed and from being caught cheating? Like, okay. So then Jennifer goes on to say that, yeah, her and Bill, they rebuilt their relationship during this Miami trip and everything was much stronger after they left and they never talked about it again. And I'm like, there must be more to that. Like, you just don't show up to the hotel and all of a sudden he's just like, fuck, baby, like, you're turning me on. Fuck, you know what I want to do? I want to fix our marriage. Like, I don't think it works like that, but okay, I mean, whatever. So then Andy's like, so Jennifer, so you really didn't talk about it for 10 years? Jennifer goes on to say that, yeah, she didn't think about it for 10 years. And Andy's like, so do you think that if you talked about it then and there, you probably wouldn't have been so emotional about it now? And she's like, probably, but me and Bill, we're in a better space now. He brought me a new chin, a new nose, a new everything, and he bought me the Chanel necklaces, Chanel earrings, Chanel everything, Chanel. And everything is fine now. Everything is good. At first I was scared, but everything is fine. So then Andy's like, so are you still upset with Margaret for exposing you? And she's like, no, absolutely not. She continues being like this soap opera actress, like, no, absolutely not. I'm not upset with Margaret. And Margaret, she says that if she knew that she knew that Jennifer was gonna spiral out of control, she would have never exposed her. And I'm like, Margaret, please. Like, we all know how you are on the show. Like, please, save it. I mean, maybe she wouldn't have done it so direct. Maybe she would have, like, done it more, like, sneaky. But I still feel like Margaret still would have said something. But regardless, she's like, so Jennifer, I mean, is everything going to be okay with you and Margaret? Are you two going to be friends moving forward? Jennifer's like, well, Andy, I don't think I have a choice because if I stop being friends with her, then Melissa's not going to want to film with me. Jackie, she's already going to be a friend of the show next season, and I'm not going to have any friends besides Teresa. And Teresa, she's already on rocky terms on this show, so I have to be friends with Margaret or else I'm going to be iced out of the show. So you can definitely expect a new friendship for next season. It might be fake, but expect it anyway. And I'm like, okay, Jennifer, I mean, thank you for being honest. I will give her that. Thank you for being honest after all this time. Now, hopefully she could put it to rest. The husbands come out next, unfortunately, and Andy starts off with Frank, and he's like, so Frank, what's been going on in your life? What's new? How are you going to cling on to your position next season now that Dolores probably has a new man and doesn't want to film with you anymore? And Frank is like, you know what, Andy? That's a very good question. So I thought about it, and I still want to be a part of the show because those Bravo checks are really good. And you know what? I thought about all of my ideas, and all of them were terrible. So I came up with this very last elaborate idea of clinging on to David, Dolores' ex. So I'm going to be living with him, and hopefully I could get some type of camera time, and hopefully you still want me on the show next season, right? I mean, you want Joe, so why not me? Like, we're a total package here. Like, we're together. It's a 2-for-1 special. And Andy's like, you know what? I mean, I could see possibilities with that storyline, but why do you live with David? And again, to me, in my opinion, I think that Frank is just living with David, and out of all people, just because he knows that Dolores is moving on with another man and she's not going to want to film with Frank anymore. And Paulie's probably not going to feel comfortable with Dolores filming with her ex anymore. And he's probably going to be like, okay, Dolores, is either me and you film or you and Frank. Like, you have to pick one. Of course, she's probably going to pick him and Frank is going to be left in the dust. So, of course, Frank has to cling on to anything or anybody for any type of relevancy to stay on this show. Now, David, I'm not even sure that's a good idea. If anything, you should have your own girlfriend and have her somehow join the friend group and hopefully she becomes a housewife. That way, that could secure your role on the show as well. But I don't know, Frank. That's kind of desperate to me. David, he's also dating Louis' ex. I'm curious to see if Frank knows any like more information about Louis through her. Like, have they ever had any type of conversation, you know, while just sitting on the couch watching a movie? I'm interested to know. He moves on to Bill. Bill is billing, and then we move on to Joe B, Margaret's husband. He had all his bags cut out underneath your eyes. I didn't even know that was possible or that was a thing. But I mean, his face looks good. I really don't know how he looked before. I mean, I don't really look at that man in the face like that. But okay, we move on to Evan. Evan is just like, hey, Andy, hey, yeah, I'm fine. I'm sweating right now. My palms and feet are sweating right now because I don't want you bringing up any of these cheating rumors from last year. So please try not to bring them up because I think some of them are true. And my wife is here and I don't want nothing to happen to her. And Andy's just like, okay, so what else you been feeling then besides that? And he's just like, well, you know, I'm very proud of my wife. You know, I'm glad that I was there for her throughout her whole journey this season. I wish you would have told me a little bit more, but I understand it. And then we move on to, I believe, who was next? Joe, he already got his camera time last episode. We move on to Tiki. Oh, wait. Well, never mind. So then we move over to Louis. And Andy's just like, so Louis, how are you? Congratulations on your marriage to Teresa. I see it lasted maybe 10 months. And he's just like, thank you, Andy. And Andy's just like, so how was it like filming on this show? Like, did you like it? Did you not? What was it? Tell me. Louis goes on to say, and you saw Teresa, how tense she got. I mean, Teresa was shaking. She was like, okay, he better say everything that we practiced last night because if he says anything else, I'm going to be so upset with him and I'm kicking him out the house. So then Louis goes on to say, well, you know what? Filming was very difficult. I mean, no blame to anybody here. I'm not blaming anybody here or Margaret. And Teresa is just, she's so annoying with it. I mean, she jumped out of her scene. She was like, really? 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 And I'm just like, Teresa, please stop. Like, you know, I mean, we all notice that Louis is the one that we're so concerned on being toxic, but we really don't notice Teresa also being toxic. She is very controlling and very, in a way, manipulating and wants to control everything that Louis comes, like, that he says or that he does or just his whole narrative on the show. I mean, she does not let the man have any word for himself. I mean, every time that he even goes off script, she's like, no. Let me answer for him. And I'm just like, Teresa, stop doing that. You're coming off controlling. If it was the other way around and Louis was doing that to Teresa, it would look just as bad as well. So I'm not sure why Teresa continues doing that. It's just a toxic marriage waiting to happen in divorce. Like, and he's telling Andy, like, yeah, I regret filming that whole scene down at Jennifer's house down the shore. That was my first time being in front of the cameras and I just didn't really feel comfortable doing that. But you know what? It is what it is. It's fine. I mean, if it comes with the Bravo check that I'm going to be taking from Teresa, then so be it. But again, Teresa's behavior like that and how tense she got and how upset she gets when he doesn't answer the way she wants to, I just don't like that. Teresa, you really need to calm that down. Frank starts talking about his relationship with Paulie, Dolores' now boyfriend, and he's like, I really just don't like the guy. We don't vibe. We don't get along. I just don't like him because he doesn't understand the relationship that me and Dolores have. And I'm like, Frank, save all of the excuses. Just say that you don't like Paulie because he's going to replace you for next season. He's going to take all your camera time for next season. Dolores is probably going to want nothing to do with you and leave you in the dust. And you're going to be left on the cutting room floor with Tiki and Tracy and just call it that. But he's like, yeah, I really don't like the guy. And also, he looks like Buzz Lightyear. And then Dolores, she did not like that. She's like, you fucking son of a bitch. You better stop it, you fucking jerk off. But you know what? I was like, wait, Buzz Lightyear. But if you look up pictures of Paulie and you put it next to Buzz Lightyear, I mean, they both do look exactly the same, except one has superpowers and the other one, he's just with Dolores. So, I mean, then we move on to Louis. And Andy's just like, so Louis, how's everything been with Teresa and the relationship that you have with her? And he's just like, oh, I mean, Teresa, she's pretty cool. I mean, she's pretty open. And I'm like, open? All right, if that's the word that Teresa told you to describe her, then all right, we'll go with that narrative. So then Andy's just like, so can you explain that video on the beach one more time for the 100th time? And Louis, he goes on to explain this whole video. And is it just me, or did his whole story on that video, the narrative, just changed again for the 100th time? I mean, I'm like, wait, I don't think this is what he said the first time, or did he? Or maybe I just forgot, because it's been so many excuses every other episode of why he did X, Y, and Z. And he's just like, yeah, when we were on the beach with all the guys, we weren't naked. We were just topless. And when I was recording that video, they told me, oh, you should just propose to her and ask for forgiveness. So that's what he did. And then when he got back home, I believe they got married or they got engaged or something like that. And I'm just like, oh, okay. I mean, I don't think I heard that before, but okay, let's go with that. So then I believe Josephine, he starts clapping. He's like, that's my man right there. That's how a fucking man does it on the stage. You see that? That's a fucking man right there. A fucking man. Yeah, you're a fucking man now, Louis. You're a man. Yeah, you're a man. And then Margaret, she's like, finally an explanation. And Josephine, he goes on to say, you see, that's all you had to say. That's all you had to explain. That's all you really had to. And I'm like, Josephine, please, you and your wife, Melissa, need to be explaining why you two are still on the show. Like, if you really want to talk about explanation. And then Margaret's just like, see, that's all you had to do, Louis. And Teresa, she did not like the second that Margaret started opening her mouth. She's like, no, stop, Margaret, stop. Because you were just coming at us nonstop. You were coming at Louis nonstop about all these allegations. So please quit it. Margaret, her excuses. Well, I was just trying to get ahead of everything, and I wanted to, build him up to be a superstar on this show, and I wanted his image to be good because I saw all of these allegations coming out, and I just wanted the best for him. And I'm like, Margaret, who are you fooling? I mean, do y'all buy anything that Margaret is selling? Because I don't believe it. It just sounds like a bunch of BS, so that way she could seem like a good person and Teresa could seem like, out of control and all, emotional all season because of her antics and stuff. And he starts listing off the allegations towards Louis, and he's like, so Louis, I have here that you slash your ex's tires, you demand sex 4 to 5 times a day, your family doesn't like you, you're always sweating all over the place, you're sweating on the couch, get your hand off the couch because that costs extra, and you need to pay for that. You're also trying to be the main star of The Real Housewives of New Jersey season 13 for next season, and you're also having an affair with Melissa Gorga. No, I'm lying about the last part, but yeah, answer to everything else. And Louis, I mean, he was kind of shook up at first. He's like, I was in toxic relationship, and I'm like, wait a minute, no, Louis, no, because if I was Andy, I would have been like, wait, well, hold on, Louis, that's not what I asked you. That it's either a yes or a no, and to me, that didn't sound like either answer. He was just like, yeah, I was just in a toxic relationship, and it was just really, really bad. And no, I don't demand sex 4 to 5 times a day. Like, what? And then Teresa, she has to add her 2 cents in. And she's like, oh, really? Because I would. And I'm like, Teresa, again, you're so annoying. Like, again, I love Teresa, but Teresa, you are just doing way too much for this man, trying to cover up his past and everything. Again, all of this is just a legend, but still, it does sound suspicious. And the fact that you don't even care to find out whether it's partly true, that is very concerning to me. So then Andy's just like, we also have here on record and in documents that you were abusive to your ex-wife twice. Can you explain that? Did you actually hit her? And Teresa, before Louis even said anything, she jumped in and she's like, no. He never did that. What are you talking about, Andy? He never hit anybody. He never hit his ex-wife. He's not abusive. What are you talking about? And I'm like, Teresa, there you go again, trying to control this man's narrative and trying not to let him speak or to confess to anything that he did in his past. There you go again, trying to be blinded by your love bubble once again, just saying, oh, no. Were you there? Were you in the marriage? Were you in the relationship with Louis and his ex? No, I don't think so. So again, you have no say in that. Just because Louis told you, oh, yeah, the sky is green, are you going to believe him? Like, Teresa, you cannot be that dumb in the head. Like, come on now. So Teresa, again, just sit this one out. I get it that you're trying to protect your future husband and future divorcee, but, cut it out. So Louis is just like, no, we were just in a toxic relationship, and that whole argument, those 2 accounts on me, it was just a verbal thing. We were just in a shouting argument, and I'm like, again, Louis, you didn't answer whether it was yes or no. You kind of just were like, oh no, that didn't happen. But let me tell you what did happen, what allegedly, possibly did not happen. And I'm like, you're talking in circles, and you're not really answering anything. And honestly, Andy, again, if I was you, I would have pressed on a little bit more. Like, no, hold on. I'm going to pull a Erica Jane on you. So did you or did you not do it? Like, no, you're letting him skate by so freely just because Teresa's acting a hot ass mess and Louis' calm demeanor is very charming in a way. So of course Andy probably feels bad, like, you know what, maybe I'm being too tough on him. Let me just move on to the next thing. Louis then shockingly tells Margaret, you know what, Margaret, I actually agree with everything you've been saying this season about me. I mean, if I was in your position, I will also look at myself like, he is suspicious. I don't know if he's the best guy for Teresa. And you know Teresa was sitting there on that couch with her blood just boiling. Because she probably yelled at him after the reunion, like, how dare you? How dare you? We read over this script like 12 hours before this reunion, and we read line for line for line, and you went off script and you actually agree with Margaret? You know what? You're fired. I'm going back to Joe. I know he's probably somewhere in Italy, but I'm going to go find him because you fucked up. You're not holding the center meatball for next season. But she remained calm, surprisingly, and Margaret was just like, you see, Teresa, you should be a little bit more nicer like Louis. At least he's a little bit more understanding. And Teresa was like, oh, well, that's nice. I'm not Louis. I'm Teresa. And Andy, again, you messed up by not pressing Louis just a little bit more with the questions that you were asking him because you didn't really get an answer. I mean, he just talked in circles around you. If I was you, I would have made this 3-part reunion into a 4-part reunion and had all his ex-wives and ex-girlfriends just come out on a couch. You know, the way that you cut Tiki and Tracy, you could give their pay over to the new wives. And have them sit on the couch and be like, okay, so everybody's gonna go around and you're gonna share your own story about Louis. And Louis, you're gonna debunk whether it's true or not. We're gonna have a face-off. That would have been a little bit more interesting. And at least that way we could see another side to the story instead of always just hearing Louis' narrative, which of course he's gonna paint himself out to be in the best lighting. Instead, Andy's just like, okay, we're gonna drop it at that. Louis, let's talk about the wedding. Like, what's going on with that? And Louis, come to find out, he doesn't want this big, extravagant wedding with Teresa. He just wants to go down to the hall, get married like that, and then I believe rent out a diner, kind of like they did it on the show Sex and the City. I've never watched that, so I'm not sure what the reference is, but I'm like, all right then. But when I see a special coming on Bravo, Teresa and Louis' wedding, I'm gonna look back at what he said and like, this isn't a diner, this is Bravo. Andy then moves focus over to Evan, and again, I feel like he was way too soft with his line of questioning, probably because he knows Evan is married to Jackie, and he knows if he asks any type of question regarding these allegations of Evan supposedly having these affairs behind Jackie's back, he knows that Jackie is gonna relapse and she's gonna spiral out of control again, so he probably wanted to keep it safe. But again, you let Evan skate off freely once again. He's just like, oh, so how's it been with, dealing with Jackie's eating disorder and being there for her? He's just like, yeah, everything is fine now. I mean, I'm glad that she's on a better path to becoming healthy, and that was it. And I'm like, well, I mean, I guess that's sad because we're not going to get any more answers about the new information that we're getting from his affairs, alleged affairs. So then Andy moves over to Bill, the vampire, and he's like, so Bill, this affair, how did it affect you, your family, your kids? Bill, he goes on this long-winded conversation explaining how it affected the kids. They thought that they were going to get a divorce. His parents were concerned, but now they're in a better place after he gave her new chin and her new nose and a couple of Chanel earrings. And he also goes on to say, well, at first I was going to deny it, and I was gonna be like, you know what, no, that never happened, but I thought about it, and I'm like, well, you know what's the point of it? I might as well just come out with it. I'm the one that did the dirty deed, and it is what it is. So Andy, he goes on to Josephine, and this is the part where I rolled my eyes so hard. They went in the back of my head, down my throat, and down my spine, and came out of my nose, because he goes on to tell Josephine, so Josephine, you were upset with Bill when he took Jennifer's side at the Shore House fight, when he was just like, oh, well, I'm going to go with my wife and you need to get out the house. And then Josephine proceeds to say the most trash ass shit that I've heard at this reunion, or probably anywhere in New Jersey this entire season. And he goes on to say, well, you know what, Andy? Men, they're a little bit more stable. And I'm like, stop right there. I'm like, stable? Joe, are you talking about yourself? Like, you and Joe, Teresa's ex-husband, when you two got into a fight and slammed each other into that wall, was that stable? You at the christening in the earlier seasons, was that stable? You just last season banging on the table like a wild animal, like throwing a tantrum, was that stable? No, so I don't know what you're talking about, always trying to demean women, like, oh, men are a little bit more stable in the head. Women, they act like housewives. And I'm like, Joe, somebody please get the janitor and put Joe in the garbage for me quickly. And put a lid on it too. Like, Joe is just so embarrassing. I mean, if I was Melissa, I don't know how she doesn't wake up every day and just cry herself into embarrassment. I mean, I would be embarrassed to be married to Joe. Like, with the shit that comes out of his mouth, like, that is pathetic. And he just has that toxic masculinity mindset. And he goes on to say that he was upset that Bill took her side. And I'm like, why? Like, that's his wife. Of course he's going to take his side. Like, again, I don't get what Josephine or any of the men expected Bill to do. Andy then asks Bill, so Bill, if Melissa called you a little bitch boy, would you be upset about it? Now, I would like to hear it. Like, I would like to hear Melissa utter those words out of her mouth. And she's like, no, I would never say that to you, Bill. I mean, I will fake many storylines with my husband to stay on the show, but I would never call you a little bitch boy, so you would never have to worry about that. So Bill is just like, yeah, I think I will be upset about that. Yeah, I will be upset about it. So then they start discussing how Bill had more loyalty to his own wife. Again, keyword wife, and how the men were upset about it. Jennifer starts fighting for her life by herself. I mean, I don't know what she was doing. She was taking everybody on, including Andy, he seemed that he wasn't really much on Jennifer's side. Jennifer is just like, wait. One more thing to this discussion, because I know that everybody wanted my husband to turn on me, but what do y'all expect? I mean, we wanted them to leave the house, like, talking about Melissa and Joe. She's like, so Evan, let's talk about you. Let's talk about the husband, aka you. So you called me Bill's, I believe the word was, I don't think I could pronounce it correctly, compliance? Partner in crime, Batman and Robin. I can't believe you said that, because Frank, and then she pointed at Frank, who was standing right behind her. Frank was the one that came up to me and told me, oh, I have pictures of this girl that Evan's having an affair with. And notice how Evan stayed quiet. Evan was just like, oh, fuck. Let me just lean down and hide behind Jackie's hair. And Jackie, Jackie was shaking in her stilettos like, no, not again. So then Jennifer, she goes on to tell Frank, did you not do that to me? Like, did we not talk? Yes, we talked about everything, and I went digging around and snooping around, but you showed me the picture. You said you had a picture of this girl. And honestly, now I do believe it. I do believe that there is a woman out there that Evan allegedly had an affair with, because there's just no way that is this specific. And Frank, he's just acting stupid. I mean, he's just like, huh? No, I don't know what picture. What are you talking about? And I'm like, Frank, you said, I believe that the men has said something on the after show exposing Evan for this, and they just kind of hit it all up. This is why I feel like Andy should have questioned Evan a little bit more, but Evan, he knew to stay quiet. All of a sudden, Dolores is like, oh my God, this fucking see you next Tuesday. And I'm like, wait, hold on, Dolores, where is that coming from? She threw that at Jennifer, and Jennifer's like, don't call me that. I'm surprised Jennifer didn't slap the shit out of Dolores right there for calling her that, because again, it was between you and Frank, and for her to say that, I was shocked. I'm like, wow, Dolores, you're really struggling as well with Melissa and Jackie to stay onto the show. But all right, so then Andy, this is where he also turns on Jennifer. And he's like, so Jennifer, I don't think that you're really sorry about your actions, because you put on quite a show. Really entertaining. Now it's time to go. You're only sorry you got caught. And Jennifer's like, no, what are you talking about? Bill, say fucking something. Bill, say something. Say something, Bill. Say something. And Bill is just like, no, we went out to a dinner. Bill didn't know what to say without getting himself in trouble again. He was just like, we went out to this to a dinner or whatever. And yeah, Frank and I, we talked about everything, blah, blah, blah. But again, nothing came about it. And I'm just like, okay, so again, everybody just let everything go with Evan. And honestly, I feel like Jennifer was onto something, even though her behavior was a little bit irrational. She was all over the place, but I feel like she had a point, and I feel like Margaret, Melissa, and everybody else was trying to cover it up. Like, okay, we need to protect Jackie and Evan. Like, we know what she's talking about, and we know what picture she's talking about, but we can't let that be exposed at this reunion, so let's try to hide it. So I believe Andy was just like, okay, we're gonna let the men go, and I'm like, finally. He's like, okay, everybody's gonna go. Wait, we're missing a housewife. Tracy and Tiki, where are they? I cannot believe that Tiki and Tracy were just edited out completely out of this entire reunion. I mean, there was a screenshot that somebody posted online that, yeah, they messed up and they added that footage of Tracy sitting on her little couch, her little lonely island right next to Melissa, and they just edited it out completely. I mean, she was there because we saw her reunion outfit. She posted it on her Instagram. I mean, it's just so embarrassing. As long as she got paid for it, I guess. But I mean, Louis, he decides like, wait, one more. I want a little bit more camera time. I need people to feel sorry for me. So because of all these allegations that my wife has said, well, my exes have said about me, I lost my position at my job at the factory or whatever I do. And I'm like, oh, so there we have it. There's his fucking storyline. I'm like, wait a minute, Teresa. See, now it's an even bigger reason why you need to sign that prenup, because he has no job now. I mean, I'm pretty sure he probably has money, a lot of it, but I mean, that money won't last forever. So Teresa, sign the prenup because I know he's after your money now, allegedly. And I'm like, huh. Interesting. And then Teresa, she tried to shut him up. She's like, I didn't want you to say that. And I'm like, you see, Teresa, there you go again. Being controlling and toxic. Like, nobody likes that. Like, he's not going to stand for that in the future. I mean, again, like I said, both of them are just diabolical when it comes to each other. Teresa, she starts blaming the whole thing on Margaret. She's like, if it wasn't for Margaret. And I'm like, now wait, Teresa, wait a minute. Like she's been out of control this entire reunion, this entire season. And I'm like, Teresa, I'm trying to root for you, but damn. Because, you know, you could feel whatever way you want about Margaret, but Margaret had no doing on these allegations about Louis. I mean, they were going to come out one way or another if he's on a public platform like the Real Housewives. So again, Teresa, if you wanted his image to be squeaky clean and he wanted to stay at his job, you should have never put him on the show. If you loved him that much, you would have removed yourself off the show. Like, okay, you know what? I know if he comes onto the show, all these allegations are going to come out and they're probably going to ruin his life. So let me just step away from this show and go and live happily ever after with him. But what did you do? You put him right there in front of all these cameras. And of course, it caught wind of his factory, of his company. And now here we go. So for you to blame it on Margaret, I just think it's a bunch of BS. Like, no, Margaret didn't do anything. Yeah, she may have sped up the process. But it wasn't all her blame. If anything, I'm actually surprised that Teresa wasn't like, I feel like it was his exes who did this. It was his exes for accusing him of being abusive. Like, imagine if that would have came out her mouth. So, Teresa, again, I'm very, very disappointed in you at this whole entire season, actually. Like, for me to agree with Margaret on top of that, like, Teresa, come on now. Like, stop being delusional. So eventually all the men, they get up, they're leaving. And then I believe Louis, he starts hugging on Margaret's husband, Joe B. He gives him a handshake. Teresa sees that. Teresa, once again, being controlling, tells Louis, why are you doing that? Why are you hugging him? Why are you handshaking? Whatever. Stop that. So Louis, he comes over. He's trying to tell her, like, stop. If you love me, you'll stop behaving like this. Yeah, save this for next season because we're going to need the ratings. Yeah. No, now that I don't have a job, you're going to have to make the money. So you need to stay on the show. So save all of this for next season. And you and Margaret could battle it out. Maybe we could even get Danielle Stubb to come back next season. Yeah, just be quiet, relax. And Teresa's like, no, I just don't like it. Why, like, he's a fucking jerk off. No. And again, Louis is trying to tell her, like, to calm down. Like, he knows what he's doing. And again, Louis has his own choices. Just because you're upset with somebody doesn't mean that he has to be hateful towards them as well. I mean, then again, that's tricky in a relationship because if I hate a bitch, you're gonna hate a bitch too. But Louis, he gets up and he walks away. All the men are finally walking away. Teresa's left her upset. And but I believe Teresa starts going at it with Margaret, right? They start screaming, like, not screaming at each other, but they keep over talking Andy, who's trying to say, hold on. He's trying to say goodbye. And they just continue talking. And all of a sudden, Andy goes up and he's like, shut up. And I'm like, now Andy, see, if I was sitting next to him, nope. I would have slapped him too. Like, who are you telling me to shut up? I let you go that one time last part at the season, at the part 2 of the reunion, when you told us to shut up the first time. But this time, absolutely not. I know I said in my last review, I would call HR. Here, I would call management, like somebody who's on top of Andy, or like the Bravo production, somebody like, excuse me, my manager just yelled at me and he told me to shut up. We need to fire him quickly. Because who is he talking to? He was so upset. Andy then brings up how Margaret is not invited to Teresa's wedding. And Margaret is like, well, it's okay, Teresa. I'm still going to send a wedding gift regardless. And Teresa, she had to be petty. And she's like, no. She still has her moments. So then Andy, he brings up the whole situation that happened in Nashville between them, how Teresa threw a bunch of plates and dishes in Margaret's direction. And he's like, so Teresa, did Louis get turned on from that situation? And did you ever apologize to Margaret for doing that? And Teresa goes on to say, yeah, I apologized to her. And I'm like, now Teresa, are you talking about the sorry ass apology that you gave to Margaret the night after when you were in the backyard with the dinner table where everybody was eating? Is that the apology you're talking about? Because that really wasn't an apology. I mean, you kind of walked in circles much like how Louis was a second ago, because that, again, to me, that wasn't an apology. That was kind of just like, oh, well, I'm sorry that I threw this on you. You better accept it anyway. That's how I took it. Margaret, you really did hurt my feelings by attacking Louis. I mean, you went after him and you know that he's in my love bubble and you know that he's my boyfriend, aka now my fiance, and you still went after him. You hurt that man to the core. Margaret is telling Teresa, no, I did not, Teresa. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about me hurting Louis? I didn't say anything. I was just trying to expose him. I mean, I was just trying to paint him out to be this good guy so we could get ahead of all these allegations before the season came out. Yes, that's what I was trying to do. So then Andy, he gets in the middle of it and he finally asks Teresa the magic question. Do you ever change your mind or your feelings or opinions about anything when it comes to dealing with other people? Teresa, before he even finished the question, was like, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. And I'm like, Teresa, no, you don't. I mean, again, unfortunately, this is sad to say, but Teresa, as much as she was the uprise to what New Jersey is now, the Housewives of New Jersey is now, she will also be the reason why it's also going to be the demise of the Housewives of New Jersey, because we're always going to get Teresa not taking accountability for anything, always being hard-headed, always talking to a brick wall when it comes to dealing with her, and always running away. This is what we're going to get from Teresa moving forward. And again, this is why she needs to leave the show or get demoted to maybe like 2 or 3 episodes, or maybe 30 minutes. A season, because again, it does get frustrating after some time. It's like, okay, Teresa, you don't see things from anybody else's perspective, and I get it. I understand that your feelings are hurt because Margaret came after somebody that you love. I get that. I understand that. But even with other arguments, you never want to hear anybody out. You always think that everybody else is the bad guy, but you're like squeaky clean. Like, I never did anything. What are you talking about? Like the whole analogy thing with Jackie. Even in that situation, you still thought you did something right. And again, we're never gonna progress this show moving forward if Teresa remains on the cast. Like, this is why the whole cast needs a complete shakeup. So Andy, he's like, you know what? We're not going to get nowhere, so let's just drop it. Let's just end this. And then he starts saying, like, his goodbyes. And he goes around in circles to see, like, you know, what was everybody's best moment on the show. He goes to Jackie first, and Jackie says that if it wasn't for the show, she probably wouldn't be alive, that the show really saved her life. And I'm like, but at the same time, Jackie, the show also put you in the same position that you were in with your eating disorder, because you said that you kind of relapsed because of the whole issue with Teresa last season. So, I mean, the show benefited you in a way, and it also harmed you in a way as well. We moved over to Dolores. Dolores says that the whole softball game and the charity, that was a really big thing to her. We move over to Margaret. Margaret says talking about her mom and her story and her backstory was something that she felt really proud of. We move over to Melissa. Now, Melissa was grasping at straws. Melissa was like, oh, fuck. He's going in circles. Fuck, he's getting to me. What did I do this season? Fuck, another season with no storyline. I'm happy about my daughter's recovery. She could do tumbles now. I'm like, Melissa, what? I mean, okay, if that's your storyline, it is what it is. That's on you. I'm glad your daughter feels better. We move over to Teresa. He moved over to Jennifer. Jennifer's like, you know, I'm getting better with Bill. My relationship recovery with that. I'm dealing with that. I'm dealing with it much better than I did 10 years ago. Then we finally move over to Teresa. Teresa says that she's still delusional. She'll be back next season claiming that she's still the housewife, the queen of housewives of New Jersey. And she's like, you know, I'm still going to be with Louis, hopefully, and, you know, hopefully it doesn't bite me in the ass. And I'm like, well, and that was that, everybody. What did everybody think about this third part of the reunion? I mean, it was non-stop yelling from the first part all the way up to the very end. I thought, okay, maybe the first 2 are going to be screaming matches. The third part, we're going to have, you know, holding hands, all hugging each other. No, they were still screaming at each other to the point where Andy had to tell everybody to shut up and scream and everything. Like, it was a lot. After this, I'm probably going to go take a bath, eat some cookies, and drink some milk, because these women have me stressed. But let me know what y'all thought about this entire season overall. And once again, we have officially finished another city of Housewives. New Jersey is officially checked off the box. Thank you to every single one of you who has supported my channel, who has left your opinions, your comments, your overall views on the show, the episodes itself. I really appreciate that, just connecting with you. And I know it wasn't easy as well with Teresa's delusions, Louis' alleged lies. I know it was not easy to get through this, but we did. And meanwhile, we still got Beverly Hills and Atlanta to get to. And I'm not sure, did anybody see the Real Housewives of Dubai trailer that dropped today? What is everybody's opinion on that? I mean, did we see Phaedra? That was shocking itself, but I'll review that as well when it comes here. But again, thank you to every single one of you for your constant support. I will always appreciate it. And I'm sending love to every single one of you. So for that, we'll say goodbye to New Jersey for now. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye, everybody. Mwah.